Today is the 28th day of April in the year 2019. This is Pesach Sherbo coming to you live from Sfat, Israel. We have Terry Hayes with us, our co-host, as always. And in our room right now, we got Michael Clark, who's new. Thomas is who's been with us from the beginning. David Ben Shaul, who is going to speak to us in just a minute. Veronica, Devorah, and Dennis, welcome everybody. And we're so glad you're here. This is a program about Noahides, and we're here to help you through your stepping into your being active as a Noahide on this earth. And we're going to try to explain things to you without getting into a whole lot of, I just want to say halakha and things like that. We're here to look at those 7 commandments that the God of Israel gave to all mankind, which means the Jew and the Gentile, means everybody. And before we even start off today, I want to give over to David Ben Shaul. Should I say David Ben Shaul or David Ben Shaul, or does it make a difference?
No, anyways, fine. I'm going to add them all.
I'm going to do it. I live in Israel. I'm going to do it the Hebrew ways. So, folks, here's David Ben Shaul, and we want you to, he's going to tell us a little bit. He's new with us, and we're so glad he's here. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really greatly appreciate being part of this program, and I'm totally excited that I'm finding other people thinking the same way. That's not just me, because I always ask Hashem for verification for where I'm at. But what I wanted to share with you is and what I really like about all this is that by going to the 7 laws, by stripping away all the religious doctrines and practices and thoughts and going straight back to a relationship with the Creator, via the and with the help of the 7 Noahide laws, is that everyone ends up being of value. There is no, we live in a society where people commit suicide because they think they're worthless. But the reality is, we all have that unique relationship with the Creator, and those 7 laws give us that opportunity to forge that relationship with the Creator, so that we have value as an individual with the Creator on a one-to-one basis. And I see so much potential in this to bring people back to a relationship with the Creator, just like Abraham did. Abraham didn't start out with religion. He didn't start a religion. He simply pursued the Creator. And these 7 Noahide laws give that permission for anybody, Jew or Gentile, to pursue a relationship. I mean, what more could we ask for in our lives?
Okay, show's over. He set it up. That was amazing.
That is beautiful, and those are the words we're all looking for. That we all have a value, and we all have an individual relationship with our Creator. Nobody more so than anybody else, and nobody's more important than anybody else. But there's also another side to this that most people, it's a little hard to get into. I'm just going to mention it, and then we're going to talk about some other things. But there's an element here of listening to the Creator, not listening to yourself. There's an element here that you have to realize I think this and I interpret it this way, and I think that doesn't make a bit of difference to the Creator. What concerns Him with your relationship, directly relationship with Him and His with you, is that you say, yes, Creator, I accept the way you said it, and that's the way I'm going to do it. It's so simple. It's a way of, I don't know, you know, I'm sure David knows Tanya, and he knows the things that were taught through the Baal Shem Tov, and we're told that we have our fleshly life, and we have our fleshly wants and stuff, but deep inside of us there's also the godly part, the part that hooks to the Creator Himself. And if we don't realize that we have to take the fleshly part and I don't want to say subjugate because that's not a right word, but get it to work along with the godly part. Because my hands and my feet, my eyes and mouth can do nothing. My godly part can't use those. That's my flesh part. But I have to teach my godly part how to make peace with the fleshly part so that they work together. So I work as a total person together to accomplish a goal. It's kind of like two people coming together with an idea or with a business or anything else. Everyone has to give a little and get, I got to give up this and you got to give up this. And hey, wait a minute, we're working good together and we got a unit, we got a body, and our company is now worth something as an individual. And this is what we're trying to do. Now, I want to just very quickly.
Layla.
I have a home group. I have a home group that has a dog. And that dog knows if I say something to it, it knows I'm talking to it. I want to get a message up that I got earlier today. Let me see. Let me get this up here. Okay, this is a. Oh, I can't get them on the same screen. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I can.
Pesach?
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask you, you were talking about, communicating with God, talking to Hashem and stuff like that. And I mean, the reality is we talk to Hashem through, because like you're saying, we're physical, we're spiritual. And, where they meet is here. This is where our heart is. It's not emotion, but the
That's
intellect.
right. You're exactly right.
We meet there. So through our daily existence is where we have our relationship with the Creator, where we contemplate what actions we should take, or correcting an action that took place, or something of that sort. And that's, so we live through our experience, in our physical experience and then our heart experience. And I that's the way I view that.
Well, you brought up a good point, because the Baal Shem Tov and all the Frierdiker Rebbe and the Alter Rebbe and all the all the really I call them the big hitters. I don't know how to put it. Sages, the guys, the thinkers. This is exactly the way they explain it. God comes in through your head, not through your heart.
Right.
Your emotions, your heart is your animal part. The head, the emotion part is your animal part. The thinking part is your God part. But also your emotions can think. So you have to know, you have to be able to tell the difference between them. Because if you get angry at somebody, your head says, oh, go beat them up or go be mean with them. So the animal part is telling you to go do these things, but the godly part wouldn't tell you to do that. All right, let me just read this. I'm trying to figure out, let me put that over there on that other screen. Now I can see this. Okay. I read a post, and I feel that all the laws under a specific Noahide law need to be explained in detail to everyone in the groups. There's absolutely no confusion between law and permitted obligation. People are getting very confused. Honoring your mother and father is an obligation, not part of the Noahide law, but we do it because it's the moral and right thing to do, not for a spiritual reward. There are many others as well. Why do I have to reevaluate myself when I already follow the 7 laws? I've been doing it for 11 years. When it's clear that you can do a mitzvah, as I stated above, not expecting any spiritual reward. I know people within the group have not read or studied the divine code. It's written and it clearly states everything we don't ritually rest on the Shabbat. It just goes on and on and on talking about this thing. What the confusion here is that people, and it's Terry, it's what you've been talking about for weeks now, that people get confused. They want to be so much like the Jewish family. They get confused with what they're supposed to be doing. And the person who wrote this read one of your last blogs and was telling me about it. And I told him that we were going to discuss it, and we understand this problem because Terry, him and I've been discussing it privately, and it's the Amuna Trek blogs where he goes, and we're doing. We want people to understand something very, very simple. And believe me, it's so simple, nobody wants to understand it. I just lost my picture. Am I still with you guys?
Oh, yeah. You're here.
Where'd my picture go? Come on now.
We're seeing you. It might be in your web. Well, I don't know if it was your web.
It got into it went up in a little teeny corner of my window. Okay, sorry for that. I'm back, and I can see you guys now. Okay. Look, the important thing that we're trying for everybody to know, even the Jews we've turned in on ourselves, we've pushed Goyim away because of the nations. We pushed the nations away because of what we've been through for the last 3,400 years. And we've just reached the spot where we can come back and say, okay, guys, let's talk. We don't have to worry about somebody killing us. And silly me. Somebody got killed yesterday for being a Jew in a synagogue in San Diego. But we don't have to worry about an army riding up. I don't have to worry about an army coming outside my door here and nailing me to a cross and burning me because I'm telling you guys the truth about the God of Israel. I don't have to worry about somebody coming to my house and some ignorant people come and say, you used the blood of kids to make your Hanukkah, your Passover matzah, so we're going to kill you and take all your stuff. We don't have to do that anymore. So we can talk. Freely we can come out and help people and work together and get everybody going in the same direction. So that's what we're doing. And these 7 laws are so simple. People don't like them because wait a minute, where's all the religion mumbo jumbo surrounding it? Where's all this stuff? Wow, I don't feel particularly spiritual about not stealing. The whole thing is, God didn't create religion. What we're doing is not about religion. Man creates religion. And every single religion on this planet has a man behind it. One man. They got together some people and said, let's set up this religion. All the isms, all the stuff.
Well, Pesach, I like the way you put it a couple of weeks ago. Walking with God is reality, not a religion.
There you go. That is true. Walking with God is your reality. It's your everyday life. It is not a religion. Some people don't want to feel spiritual. Some people don't want this. Some people don't want that. It doesn't make any difference.
But I feel, I'm a spiritual person. I went from, what I call the non-traditional Christian church I grew up in to Pentecostalism. Associate pastor there for a few years. Loved the I'll be honest with you, I loved the emotional worship aspect of it, and it kind of released something in me that I didn't know that was there. But the 7 laws are very spiritual to me. When I'm at work and I have an opportunity to be kind to someone or do something, that would, in accordance with the 7 laws, whether they recognize it or not, I personally sense the hand of God in that situation every time.
Well, you're right. You're right, but you have a fine tuning for that. Not everybody has that same fine tuning little button. Not everybody has to feel the same thing. Look, I get up in the morning, I go to work, I work in a factory, I drive a truck, I sell real estate, I sell cars, whatever it is I do. I'm a good person all day long. I smile. I don't yell at people. I don't get angry at people. I treat people properly. I am thinking about God quite a bit. I do everything the best I can. I go home. I go to sleep, fall into bed at night, go to sleep, get up in the morning, do the same thing. I don't have to, I'm going to go pray 3 hours this morning, or I'm going to go read the Psalms. I don't have to do that. Look, the first line in the Jewish code of, I think it's Jewish Code of Life, is a book that was written years ago, is think about God all day long. And if you do that, you won't treat people improperly, because you're going to say, well, I shouldn't get mad at this person for that. Or I shouldn't say that nasty thing to that person, because God doesn't want me to. You know what the last line of the book is? Do it all in joy, with joy. Those two lines are the whole key to life. Keep God in your mind all day long, so that when you go to do something, your mind is checking itself to make sure the godly soul part is saying, yeah, okay, you don't have to get mad at him for saying that. You just laugh or whatever you want to do, but you don't have to get mad. You don't have to get angry. You don't have to get jealous. You don't have to go cut him off because he cut you off. That's the first line of the book. The last line of it is, do it all with joy. Actually, it says do it in joy, I-N-J-O-Y. Because in Hebrew, that's the way it says it. But sometimes when I say enjoy, people think I'm saying enjoy, E-N-J-O-Y. So do it all with joy. Now, you know, it's hard sometimes to do it all with joy. Hello, Dennis. Hello, Blaine, Veronica, Devorah, Thomas, David Ben Shaul, a landsman, another Jewish guy here in the room, which I'm so glad he's going to come along with us, I hope, and do some work with us. Veronica, Michael, we're going to use Michael to do recordings. How's that, Michael? There you go. He's got it set up so we can do live broadcasts and so forth. Thomas, I say to you, and Terry, of course, my co-host from Tennessee. And I'm here in Spot. I just thought of that. Spot in Tennessee.
There you go.
So, in answer to that, the what I just read earlier about, by the way, if anybody wants to say anything, you can type it in, or you can turn your camera on and wave your hand, and we'll be more than happy to let you do it. So it's no problem. So if anybody wants to say anything, if you don't know where the chat room is, put your mouse on the thing and look down at the bottom. You'll see a little window that says chat. You just click that, it'll open it up for you on the side so you can chat that way. Here's the thing. We want to look at just one of the 7 right now. Well, that's, you know what, Devorah, Devorah says sometimes you need to find out how to talk to Gentiles about the 7 laws of Noah as a Jewish person. Evangelizing ain't going to help, but people have to be ready for this.
As a Noahide, I need to learn how to talk to the other Noahides about the Noahide laws.
Because all you end up in is debate all the time, and it's miserable, and I don't do that anymore. Let's take don't steal. We're just going to take that as one of the things off of it. Now, it says it real easy, do not steal. What does that mean? Do not steal. There you go. Doesn't mean you don't go shoplifting, and you don't take money that doesn't belong to you, and you actually just physically don't steal something. Well, that's good. I don't do that. Oh, wait a minute. I need some paper from my computer. I think I'll take some paper from the office and a couple of pens. Things like that. You see, that's stealing too. And you go to the cashier and she checks you out, and as you're going out to the car, you find out, I got an extra $50 here. It can be as little as 10 cents. It can be as much as $20 by mistake. A lot of people are just thinking, oh man, my groceries just cost me less. Whatever I bought, boy, I just got a discount. Instead of people realizing that's not what happened. What happened was your God put in front of you a test to see what kind of person you are. Are you going to go take that money back to the cashier and say, excuse me, you gave me too much money? Just like you'd say, you didn't give me enough money. Give it back. That's stealing. You sit down in somebody's chair that they're in a meeting, and you know that that's where they were sitting, but they got up and went to the bathroom or something, so you sit in their chair. That's stealing. There's so much stuff that's entire. I came up with a list of 60, about 60. By the way, I just want to tell everybody, if you know, I know everybody's doing things. You might, there's a mute button, so you got your microphone off so everybody doesn't hear what you're doing or who you're talking to or whatever. If you put it on the picture of yourself, you'll see in the upper right-hand corner, it says mute. You just click that and it'll mute it. So whatever you're doing doesn't come out all over in everybody's ear. Anyway, the point is, we have 613 halachot. Do not steal. There's a whole bunch of them. But it's not as simple as it looks. There's a book called The Divine Code, which many of you Noahides are familiar with. There it is, The Divine Code, which Rabbi Moshe Weiner has done an excellent job. Uh-oh. Excellent job of putting things together. And if you open this book up to, now look, not everybody has to, you don't have to read these books. You don't have to do it. There is no yeah, I know you got it. There's no requirement that you study and read these books. You don't have to. It just makes it a little bit easier if you're inclined to get into some real deep stuff. If you're not, you don't have to. It's okay to do it.
Hey, Pesach?
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, I've got this one. We've discussed this one, you know, parts of it before. I was looking at it, and it was talking about, because of the fast change of how our technology, the way money and technology and consumerism moves about today, it said that it would take a 10-year course to just discuss the laws of theft dealing with commerce today. And I thought that was pretty interesting.
That is pretty interesting. And that's true. But if we're not involved in commerce, we don't have to worry about it.
Well, I was just talking about just the, you know, how much things are changing today. You know, like with it, you know, information, media, you know, copyright, all the different just minute levels of theft that people can find themselves in.
Yeah, every time you download a song off the internet and you use it, that's theft. People don't realize that. Every time you use somebody's photograph off the internet that they took, that's theft. Now that's really, you know, going into the finite details of it, but essentially that's what it is. But not everybody needs to know all those little details. Not everybody works at the internet.
Right.
You know, not everybody's a graphic designer. Not everybody's doing this. Not everybody's doing that. The most important thing we all have to learn is just how to treat each other properly. Yes, go ahead, David.
Yes, I put a little bit of it. I mean, what you're saying is I definitely agree with, but I've learned to put a little bit of a different twist on it to help me to grasp the concept, like in my daily walk. And I keep in mind that when it comes to stealing, you know, that we are all individuals. We all have an individual purpose and role and mission within life. And if we steal something from somebody or are stolen from, there's a possibility that we may not be able to carry out our mission purpose because of the loss of whatever it is, whether it's a money or a tool or something like that. So I flip it on its head and view it as am I preventing will I prevent a person from carrying out their purpose in life?
You know what? That's an excellent way to look at it. Those of you that don't live in Israel, and I probably said this before, there's a very particular thing that happens here in Israel. If somebody drops, it doesn't make any difference what it is, a wallet, a scarf, they forget something somewhere. If that person comes back to that spot, it's usually there. Somebody doesn't pick it up, put it in their pocket, and walk away with it. They usually set it up where people can see it so they can come pick it up. Today I was watching. I was watching out of our center today, and a young man was walking by, and he saw something on the street, and he picked it up, and it was some kind of decal or special writing thing that he figured somebody must have dropped it, didn't mean to drop it, and there's a railing there. He put it up on the railing so the person, if they walked back by, would see it and pick it up. It's amazing what happens here. If you lose a sum of money on the street, if you go back to retrace your steps, you'll find it and you'll get it and it'll be there for you. Either somebody's going to hunt down or somebody's going to give it to a store owner that's close to that in case somebody comes by to ask questions where the money is or something. People don't take things. You know, it gets down to what I call almost sublimely ridiculous. When you put out a box of tissues in your office, they're for everybody. You put them up so everybody sees them, but every time somebody comes over, they're going to ask you, can they have one? So that they don't feel that they're violating a law of theft. One of the other laws, which a lot of us unintentionally, you borrow something from somebody. You never give it back to them. You just forget about it, kind of. Or if the person says, "Have you got my so-and-so?" and you just don't remember borrowing it or something like that. And I love the way David put it, that when you borrow something or when you find something or when you take something, you got to think about, is it going to cost the other person something? Am I going to be the one that causes this other person to lose something, to spiritually, financially, livelihood, whatever it is? And that's a good way to look at it, because you're asking yourself the right question to get the right answer that God wants you to understand. So I love that question, and I'd never thought of it that way before, but that's a great way to think about it. Go ahead, Terry.
I got a question. One of the things that we learned when we were studying for conversion, now especially I'm talking about living here in the United States, you know, you find some money. We were taught by our rabbis that God never causes, you can't say, "Oh, I've been blessed, look what I found." God doesn't cause someone else to have a loss so you can be blessed.
Absolutely.
So we were taught to put it in a tzedakah box and give it to give it to charity right on, or put it in a tzedakah box for charity use. My wife had, I guess, I don't know if you call it a question, but I'm putting it as a question. I want to ask you and David this. Let's say we found a sum of money in a situation there's no way to know who it belonged to, and we're going to do the proper thing and put it back for tzedakah, and we give it to charity. Would the person, so let's say, who lost that, even though they didn't directly give it to charity, have a partial blessing? And even though they lost the money, it came from them. And if the money was used properly and put toward a tzedakah, would they receive a partial blessing for that, even though they didn't know they'd done it? but the money they had was used for that purpose.
Well, it wouldn't even be a partial blessing. It's a full blessing because they started the chain reaction that caused the mitzvah to be done.
Okay.
So that's like if you give money to a charity, however they use it, that's their business. But you've started the process of a mitzvah to be done. So you get what you call credit for it. Yes, it's attributed to you. I have to go back because I'm here in Israel and I'm not out of Israel. But it's pretty hard for somebody to lose a sum of money and to be put in a charity that it would be claimed back. You know, I think I told this story a couple of weeks ago or a month ago, where there were some folks on the way from the northern part of the country, the middle part of the country, to going to a nephew's or grandson's wedding on the train. And they'd come in from out of country, and they get to the stop, they get off the train, they go to the wedding, they look for an envelope they had with them, and it was missing. And that envelope was 50,000 euros cash.
Whoa.
That they were giving to their grandson to start his life with. 50,000 euro cash. They went back to the train place. They even got the train company was able to track down the number of the train. You know, somebody found that envelope and turned it over to the train people. And these people came and got it. But this is Israel. This isn't America. This isn't another country. And you hear stories like this all the time here in Israel. But it's still a quick thing that happened to me like 10 years ago. There used to change guy that I used to exchange dollars for shekels. The guy stands on the corner, around the corner from the bank. He gives you a better rate. So I used to do with them. And there's an alley between some buildings, and it goes from one court to another court. And I'm finished with him. I turn around and start walking away, and I look down, and there's a little bit of money with a rubber band around it. I opened it up, and I counted out. It was 1,500 shekel. And I said, well, you know, this somebody needs this money. This money was set aside for something. And I just asked some people around. I didn't put it back to the change guy. I was just asking some people in the next courtyard where there was a bank and a bunch of other stuff. Anybody drop any money? Nobody said anything. So I went back to the change guy and I said, look, is somebody been looking for some money? He said, yeah, you know, a guy was just here that had changed dollars with me earlier, and he got like 1,100 shekel from me, and he was going around to pay his mortgage payment with. And he told me what bank he was going to. So here this guy's just looking all over. He'd put another 400, put it in a rubber band around it. He was going, this is the way people do things here in Israel. And he was going to the bank to pay the mortgage payment.
Wow.
And he was outside the bank looking around, talking to people. So I just figured that was him. So I said, you know, can I help you? Are you looking for something? And he says, I lost my mortgage payment. I lost 1,500 shekel. I don't know where it is. So I took it out of my pocket and I handed it to him. Here it is. This guy cried. He kissed me. He was so happy. But the point is, this is what we do for one another here. And this is what we're supposed to do for the whole world. You know how angry I get, and I shouldn't, when people blame God for the hunger and starving, malnutritious kids and all across the world. If you go Google it later. The last time I looked, a child dies every 18 seconds from malnutrition on this planet. Where we throw away food that'll feed whole populations. And they say, well, God's at fault, but we're the ones throwing away the food. It's our greed. We throw away enough food to feed the whole earth. You know, one of the prayers we say after we eat where we're thanking God for supplying us with what we need. It says that God creates all creatures, creates their needs, and fulfills every single creature's needs. It's here on earth. Who messes it up? We do. We do. It's not like, oh, this rich guy's doing this, and this rich guy's doing that, and this big company's doing. No, it's all of us together.
Yep. Psalms 145. He opens up his hand and satisfies the desires of all living creatures.
Exactly. So our job, what are we doing? Why are we even sitting here talking together? There's 9 of us here right now. Hopefully a bunch more will see this program. We're trying to explain to people we're responsible. And we're responsible to God, our creator, who created all of us. Someone likes to do it this way, somebody more spiritually. We're supposed to get rid of this judging each other, which we're brought up to do. The minute we walk out of the house in the morning, we're judging people for their clothes, their hair color, their kind of car they drive. We're so used to it instead of thinking things differently. And that's what religions are all about, judging people. Oh, if you're not one of my people, then I can cut your head off. And you're not a human, you're an animal. And you don't walk right, so I walk better than you do. So I'm the good guy and you're the bad guy. Constantly judging. Folks, let me tell you something. Yes, go ahead, David.
Okay. I just wanted to add in another thought to this, and that is, I know halakhically, we're supposed to make every attempt to return a lost item. So where do we draw the line at that to say that we've gone far enough? Now, I'm not trying to get into halakhic issues, but
Yeah.
I think it's a reasonable guide to work by when we find an item. Like you say, you drop a scarf, you put it on a railing or something near the spot, hoping the person to come back. But if you're in an area where there's nobody, what's the reasonable effort that we should be doing to attempt to return that item? And then if it's not, and then if we done that and no one shows up, what's the good thing to do with that item?
Well, from what I know is, I don't know where you'd be where nobody was, but if I'm
True.
I'll give it just a little example. Shira and I were traveling from here, from Haifa. We were traveling to Maktesh Ramon. It's the largest natural crater on Earth. It's in Israel. And you pass through Beersheba and you go through the Negev for a while, and you're actually in the wilderness. It's not sand desert, but it's wilderness. We pulled up in an oasis. We saw some 3 or 4 trees off in the distance off the road. So I said, oh, we got some food. Let's go have a picnic over there. And we did. And we found some little item. I don't know what it was. And that somebody must have left there. Now, we could have taken it. I don't remember what it was, a trinket, really. It was not worth much. But we could have said, hey, look at this. And we found it and stuck it in our pocket. But I put it up on the tree where someone would see it. And I left it. I don't know who's going to end up with it. But the person it originally belonged to may come back. That may have some intrinsic value to that person. It may come back. It may not. It wasn't something really valuable. Driving down the highway one day in America, I saw this box kind of half in, half off I-95. So I took my life in my hands. It looked interesting. And I parked on the shoulder and I ran out in the middle of the road, got the box and brought it back. And in it was the coolest and a really expensive drill, electric drill. And boy, I could use that. I never could have afforded something like that. I didn't know what to do with it because it obviously fell off of somebody's truck, work truck. Obviously, the person's not going to realize anywhere near where they lost it. So what do I do with it? I actually put it back in the box, stood the box up so somebody could see what was there, and I left it. Because I felt if I took this, I'm interfering with somebody else. If he doesn't end up with it, it's not my fault. I just haven't done anything to interfere with what was going on. So that's the way I look at it. I don't want to benefit from somebody else's hardship. And I don't want to be a part. Now, you said about giving the money to, if it's a sum of money, like, you know, there was in the paper the other day about somebody found a large sum of money in America, I think, or maybe it was in Europe. They turned it into the police, and after a certain amount of time, it just goes into police property. They told them, come back and get it after that time. Well, I certainly, if I was in that case and nobody claimed it and nobody bothered to call the police or anything, I would have taken the money and I would have given it to charity. And that person caused me to do that thing, so God would be looking at them as the beginning of it. Now, no one has to judge if you want to give money to someone, like charity or anything, it's not up to you to say whether it's good or bad to do it. If you feel like you want to do it, you do it. What they do with the money is their business between them and God. What you did with the money is between you and God. So if you give money to somebody and say, okay, here I want to do a blessing, you've done your blessing. If they mismanage the money, if they misuse it, whatever they do with it, doesn't make any difference to you at all.
Right. Well, it's sometimes my wife is canny about this. She's for years. We'll pull up in a parking lot, cars going everywhere, and blowing around's a $5 bill. I'll bend over and pick up pennies, and she finds paper. It's all the time. You know,
that's what wives are for, to do better than we do.
I know. And so, you know, we just got discussing it. To be honest, we had that happen here not so long ago. And so, I mean, that's the first word out of both of our mouths before we even touch it, tzedakah. You know, because it's just, there's no way to tell who it is. It's tzedakah. We don't touch it. I don't even touch a penny. I found a penny the other day going into a grocery store, put it in my pocket, came home. I got a little bitty tzedakah box, you know, and dropped it right in it and asked Hashem to bless where it goes, you know. And
yeah,
we were just kind of wondering if somebody, like, say, not just a penny, $5, $100 bill, you find that and you turn it over to tzedakah. My wife asked, she goes, I wonder if the person who lost it gets a blessing from that, even though they didn't intend it.
Do you know, it's even if it's a penny? Of course. They cause this chain of reaction. Now, if you pick up a penny and put it in that box, and at the end of the day, you pick up that box and use it for tzedakah, all those people, also all those coins, they're going to get some credit for it. You're also going to get credit because you carried it forward a step, but you're not taking anything from them. And those pennies and the dimes and the nickels and even a $5 bill, people don't even bother about it anymore unless it's a kid or something.
Right. I thought it was just an interesting question she had. I've never thought about that before.
It's a good question, and it's a good question for people to know, because people, they're very, and look, I'm going to say something that people are going to get angry with me now. But the Noahides have come out of a process where they were told they had to give 10%, they had to do this, they had to do that, you got to do this, and the religion was going, gimme, 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 gimme. They come out, and they did a big sigh of relief. Boy, I don't have to listen to that anymore. Well, I'm here to tell you that that's not the way it is. Because everything you get comes from this Creator. Everything. It belongs to Him. You don't own anything. When you go and work for a paycheck, He's the one paying you. That's where you get your money from. You just said it in, what psalm was that? 142?
145.
145. Everything belongs to Him. Now, you go out and you drive a truck, you work wherever you work and do whatever you do. You get that money. You say, boy, my money, what's that? He's giving it to you because you did some work, and he expects you to do something with that money other than just throw it in the bank and spend it on bills. Look, when Abraham met, how do you say it in English? Melchizedek. Yeah, everybody knows the story. After he beat the armies, and he went to Melchizedek, and he gave him automatically 10% of everything. He gets 10%. He's the head guy. He's the ruler. But most people don't know, because if you really get into the study of who is this guy that is king of Salem, he's the first king of Jerusalem. Salem became Yerushalayim later. This guy and Abraham were good buddies. Shem, yes. And Abraham studied with Shem for years. By the way, that's the place where they studied is right up the street from here. We're putting up a whole new, as soon as I get somebody to do some really great graphics for me and stuff for a new website, we're doing a whole big thing on Shem and Ever, and we're going to invite people to come here and to study, not worship, but study here, and they can bring their own groups. We have teachers here in Sfat that are willing to teach them. It's going to be pretty cool, but that's all in the future. Back to what I was saying. I taught Christians for years and years and years and years. And the Christians are pretty open. They were giving me donations. I was getting $3,000 a month, $4,000 a month from different congregations and stuff. And this minute I changed to Noahide, the money went poof. And I've talked to people about it. I'm trying to understand why. And now I do understand why. And I understand it's a legitimate reason. Because you're always on the spot. Well, you come on back, Michael. We opened up a center here in Sfat for Noahides to make it the Noahide connection to Israel, because that's the whole point. People telling me, hey, you guys are supposed to have the light. You're supposed to have the truth. It says it in Zechariah. It says it in Jeremiah. What? Come on now. Why haven't you done what you're supposed to do and share the light with us? Well, my wife and I take it very seriously, especially since she has 6 kids that are not going to convert to Judaism. So that's why we got into Noahide. They're all pretty good. If they want to call themselves Noahides, they can tomorrow, because they're all pretty good at it. The point is, we started with Social Security money, and that's what's running our whole business, the whole thing for everybody around the world. And we really appreciate every once in a while when somebody sends us a little bit of money to help pay bills. And we have a few people that send a monthly amount, which is a big help. But that $5 a month, anything is better than Social Security. But there's no requirement by me sitting here in front of you saying I'm charging for my time. But you do have a requirement from God, and it says in here you're supposed to be not eat the limb of a living animal. Well, under there's a whole lot of things about kindness in there. Only animals eat the limb from a living animal, by the way. You watch it on nature shows all the time. So don't say who does it. Animals do it. I went deer hunting years and years ago. I missed my first deer, but another guy there didn't. Guess what they had him do? I'm not even going to talk about it, but they had him with the heart still beating. And it's just terrible. But animals do that, not human beings. We have to hunt for food, that's fine. We have to kill animals to eat, that's fine. God says it's okay. Don't be unkind. Do you know that there's a midrash talks all about the flood? And it says that if people had only been kind to one another, they could have violated all the other commandments. If they'd just been kind to one another, there wouldn't have been a flood. God looked, huh?
That's the story of Nineveh.
Well, that's what happened in Nineveh. That's exactly right.
they started being kind, and even though they were still idolatrous, God saved them and granted them repentance.
Right. So that's exactly right. Story of Nineveh. Sodom and Gomorrah would have been the same way. If they'd been kind to each other, God wouldn't have destroyed them. Because when people are kind to each other, there's something to work with. When they're nasty to each other, there's nothing to work with. You're just a total animal. You're like a dog that bites everybody. You're an animal. Anyway, I made a little plea for a little bit of money, and maybe we'll get some. And if we don't, that's okay. Don't feel bad about it. But find a place for you that you think is worthwhile. When you get that paycheck, 10% should go back out basically it should be somebody that's doing mitzvot, but wherever you want to put it. You want to put it with somebody feeding the hungry or however you want to do it, it's okay. But don't think that it's all yours. Do something with it. Even if you're walking down the street and you see some raggedy old man or woman and you think they need a little bit of money, reach in your purse, reach in your pocket, and just give it to them, walk by. You don't have to say, I'm giving you a present or doing this or doing that. Just hand it to them, don't say anything, and just keep going. It's okay. You know, the highest form of charity you can possibly do, aside from teaching somebody to make their own money, is the person receives does not know who gives, and the giver does not know who receives. Period. No credit whatsoever for it.
Right.
Somebody want to say something?
Can I read something from this is kind of in the line of what we're talking about. This is one of the books that I kept. All the Jewish books that I didn't need to be studying, I sold when I decided to be a Noahide. But this one, I really like this rabbi's teachings, and I find it very useful. This is called A Voice in the Darkness, and it's the Parsha teachings by Harav Moshe Sternbach. And it's really good. And I was looking at the Parsha Yitro, because we find that it's within the 10 Commandments are there, the commandment of theft. And so I was kind of looking at all these different areas this morning, and I thought this little paragraph was really interesting. And he's talking about, by covering Har Sinai with smoke, Hashem created a distinction between the place of Kabbalah Torah and the rest of the world. In doing so, he meant to show us that someone who is involved with Torah is living in a completely different world than the rest of mankind. A person whose thoughts and actions are guided by Torah is a Ben Torah and is like the smoke that covered Har Sinai, and is distinct from everyone else. And that's really, if we want to, I know it's talking to the Jewish realm, but even to the Noahide realm, when we're living by our Torah and that Torah is guiding our lives, it's almost like the smoke at Mount Sinai. There is a separation. We are in a different realm, like he says here, living in another world. We live in another world when we allow, the Torah that we're permitted to have to be our guide.
Anyone that lives Torah, whether they're Jew or non-Jew, what does it mean live Torah? You acknowledge the God of Israel. You acknowledge that all you do is from him, not from yourself. And you're doing it because God told Moses to tell you. God told Moses to tell you what to do. That link has to be there. It can't be because I thought of it logically.
Right.
The minute you do that and you start walking these Noahide laws, you become what's known as a Sadiq Umot Haolam. You become a righteous person in the nations. That separates you from the unrighteous people in the nations, because you're doing Torah and you're doing what God wants. There's no greater person you can be. I can't get to the point of righteousness and be called a tzaddik being a Jew. I can't get there. We're taught that the righteous people amongst our people are born, and another righteous person, one died today. It seems like all the great rabbis from not from my generation, the previous generation, are dying off, and there's nobody to take their place. And I'm wondering what's going to be the emptiness like when you don't have those spiritual leaders. But anyway, that's a different thing. The point is, I can't go up and fill one of their spots because I wasn't born for it. All I can do is be a part of Israel. Amcha. I'm not a Levite. I'm not a Cohen. I'm just a regular Israeli. And not because I live in Israel, because I'm of the seed of of Jacob. But I can't be righteous. But you guys outside of Israel can become what they call righteous of the nations. You can become the righteous non-Jew. Now I'm going to use a word that a lot of people, I have a problem with this word, but it's called a ger tzedek. It doesn't mean a convert righteous person. It means someone who's not part of Israel is a tzaddik. And it's good. And you can attain it simply by walking those 7 Noahide laws. You attain a higher level of righteousness before God than I can. It's the truth. Some people, say, well, you guys just want to imprison us or enslave us or do this or do that.
Or
You
second-class citizens.
guys are more righteous than we are. In God's eyes, we're just showing you how to fulfill what God wants you to do in your life. That's all. Be the taxi driver, be the truck driver, be the train conductor, be the teacher, but live your life for God. Just do what he wants, and it's not hard. And it's not, you don't worry about your dietary laws, don't worry about all this other stuff. He hasn't put one iota of that onto, okay, Veronica, I'll see you next week.
Veronica.
He hasn't put one iota of a burden on non-Gentile, on non-Jews for that. Why burden yourself if he didn't give you the burden? And some people do that.
I mean, the yoke we have, I mean, if you really are serious about the 7 laws, it's simple, but it's not second class. It's not a cop-out. You're not a lesser person because you, quote, only have 7, or let's just say 100 or so if you combine all the other laws versus the other Torah. There's a lot to it. And every day, I mean, this week alone, I had a situation at work. To myself, I failed Hashem in an issue, but I caught it, and I prayed and I asked, okay, the next time this happens, I don't want to do this again, and so I don't have time to study things outside the 7 when I'm not even nowhere where I need to be within the 7. You know what I'm saying? That's me. I mean, I'm talking about simple things. I just had a simple thing at work that happened, and I made a decision. It turned out to be the wrong decision, but Hashem, blessed be his name, allowed me to make a correction, but I still made this mistake. I'm like, this is not how a godly person is supposed to live. And so it nagged me for the rest of the day on that situation. So that's where I'm at within the 7 laws. I take it serious. I try to look at how everything in my life that they touch and how I affect the people around me by the decisions I make.
Go ahead, David.
Yeah, I wanted to add, and I see what he's saying, but I want to explain a little bit of experience I had several years ago, and when I first learned about Noahide, a friend of mine who's a Kohen, and he Orthodox. I was talking to him about it. I said, "What's this Noahide thing?" And what he said to me was very profound, and it really set me on a path of understanding it. He said to me, he says, "Where do you find that?" I said, "It's in Genesis." He says, "Is Genesis part of the Torah?" And I said, "Yes." And he says, "It's Torah." That's simple. And by him explaining it that way to me, I found that the Noahide teachings were just the basis for everything else. So in reality, the 7 laws are becoming to me, still are coming to me as a foundational spot for everyone to come to. And I'm viewing now Torah in like 2 parts: the Genesis Torah and the Exodus and beyond Torah. In other words, Moshe and pre-Moshe. So we're talking about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Joseph as the world is developing a new nation, and it comes together in Sinai, where we have a communal law system for everybody. So I'm finding that the 7 laws of Noahide are the foundational piece of the teachings for everything that's within Torah. So I know it's a little bit of a side thing, but I see it as there's a lot of information packed in there, just in those 7, that can be pulled into the rest of the books of Moshe.
You know,
I agree with that. I've shared several times this article I'd come across by this rabbi. He wrote it like in 2016, talking about the role of the non-Jew in the world, and I really liked how he put it. He in the article he says, where the Jew has to stop, the Noahide continues on with the mitzvahs, like this dealing with Sabbath or other areas where that separates Israel from the nations. The Jew comes along and there's something going on, and the sun is going down, and he has to, if it's not a life-threatening situation, he has to stop and obey his commandments. Where a Gentile can come along and pick up where he left off and continue. And I thought the way he brought this out, I said, that is, it's kind of almost goes back to what Pesach was talking earlier before we started recording about how we are, we have an animal soul and a godly soul, and they've got to learn to work together and to be able to do the job that God wants our human body to do. And so it's almost like that. God created the non-Jew and he created the Jew. He gave each responsibilities, and we bring them together. We complete the mitzvah together. Though the Jew has to stop, the non-Jew doesn't have to, but the whole world benefits from that action. That's my way my mind thinks.
But now let me just inject something right here, right now. You're absolutely right, Terry and David. What you're saying is not an aside; it is fact.
Oh yeah, it is.
Those laws, those 7 basic laws that Noah carried through at the regenesis of the whole world. God told him to teach them, and one of his sons, Shem, established a school and started teaching them. All the other boys went wherever they went. So we have Noah to Shem to Abraham. What was Abraham? If you want to call him a Noahide, he was a Noahide. He was following the 7. God might have given him a little information. What was Isaac? He was a Noahide. What was Jacob? He was a Noahide. And they were a family of people that God was communicating with. And maybe he's giving them more and more information because they're paying attention to him and the rest of the world is not. But until we hit Mount Sinai, we had nothing. Mount Sinai created the nation of Israel in people. That's what we have the country of Israel, which I live in now, but we also have a nation of people. And when I think of it, I think of actually the American Indians. There were tribal nations, the Sioux, the Cherokee, all of them. They wandered all over the place, but they were a nation of people with certain rules and laws that they went by. We've been doing what the Creator told us to do for 3,400 years since Mount Sinai. And included in what he gave us at Mount Sinai was the reiteration of the 7 for all human beings. He didn't say go convert the world. He didn't say tell people convert or cut your head off. He didn't hang them on crosses. He didn't torture people. He said, you guys aren't allowed to do this. You guys are you're not allowed to conquer nations. You're not allowed to do anything. Just go tell people who I am. Because one day the whole world will know who I am. And you know what? 3,300 years ago, the whole world knew who he was. Everybody and all the world, where there was communication, knew who he was. 40 years after 40 years, 40 years later, after the splitting of the sea, what does Rahab tell Joshua? The whole world was waiting to see what your God was going to do. You have the most powerful God. Their hearts melted. They were quivering in front of your God. Those people were smarter than people are today.
Boy, we're almost in need of another event like that.
But what I'm saying is the realization of what happened in Mount Sinai is coming together through people like us now. We're getting
Right. And also, you're talking about Mount Sinai, and the most exciting part to me about the Mount Sinai experience in Exodus 20 is 2 chapters before that, where Jethro, a Gentile, probably a Noahide, comes along and gives them a judicial process or system to incorporate the 10 words along with the remaining 600 commands.
Yeah.
And I know people forget that, and I always point to it. I said, you had a role in helping Israel to become what it was back then.
Right. Absolutely.
So, it's a hand-in-hand thing, and that's what the Noahide laws do. It brings us together in the unity, which you've been preaching up and down about.
Now, look, this group is a brand new group that we're putting together. And what's happening to the Noahides right now out there is they're denominating.
Yes.
and because they don't believe it's this simple. And this one's saying a ger this and a ger toshav and a ger tzedek and a ger that. They're just way all over the map. What we want to do is reach out to people through Torah for the Nations, a common place to connect to here in Svat, where eventually we're going to have conferences here and people coming. But in the meantime, we're teaching that Torah is for everybody. Everybody has their part to play in the Creator's role. We want to get as many people together telling other people as possible. Everybody's got their own way of speaking, their own way of communicating with people. But it has to be based on you call your website UTOM. What does that stand for?
Universal Truth of Mankind.
Torah.
Yes.
Okay. Torah for the Nations is the universal truth of mankind. Is Torah. We want to get everybody speaking the same language so we can help people. You started this, I don't know how many years ago, you told me the other day, and you started to help people, to guide people.
2002.
2002. I started my whole journey in 1999 with this stuff and teaching. Anyway, aside from that, we need to become a power that people listen to. That they will, why? Not that we're not going to debate people. Debate is useless and worthless. It's just a waste of time, and it gives credibility to the non-truths anyway.
Right.
But it's a place where people can come and find truth, those that are looking. If someone doesn't know what questions to ask, you can't teach them because they'll never understand what you're saying. a person has to, don't teach anybody before they ask a question. Once they ask a question, you know they're looking and they have in their mind what they're looking for. But to go around and hand them pieces of paper and knock on doors and do all this other stuff, we can't do. So, shalom, Devorah. Sorry. Didn't see that.
She had to take her dog out, I think.
Yeah. Anyway, I hope that those people listening to this video or watching the video in this next week, and I hope that you guys sitting here, and Troy, who's not here right now, and a couple other guys that aren't here right now, and some women also, we want to put something together that we can actually help people with. We can actually become I don't want to help God. That's my job. I know what my job is. My job is to tell people about being Noahides, not try to convert them. Those of you that don't know, all day long I stand in front of Torah for the Nations at Kikar HaMeginim in Sfat, which is a central circle or square where all the tour groups come through. I do nothing but talk to people all day long, Jews and Gentiles. The Jews, I try to get to understand who the Gentiles are. The Gentiles, I try to get them to look at who the Creator is, the God of Israel. But the website gets to a lot more people, but the center is going to grow into something much bigger and much better. So it's going to be pretty cool, and I'm excited about it. And I'm trying to me, and Shira said to me, my wife, she says, you know, you've been working this hard for years and years and years, and you've had nobody, you had a lot of goofy people want to hook up with you and stuff like that. And she says, I see people, real people that are talking to you and want to get hooked up. She says, I think God's finally helping you get things together the way you want. I don't know. I just see regular people that are interested in this, not these. It shouldn't be. That's bad. It's Lashon Hara, but because they're off in the wrong direction. But I want to welcome you guys, and I really hope that we're going to get a good working relationship going. I can't do this all myself. And if you know anybody's good at websites, I would really like to get somebody to build this website about Shem Va'ever and their school, and get a lot of information, got a lot of stuff they can use. If you know anybody's good at WordPress or good at building websites, don't have any money to pay them, but I'd sure like to get a hold of them. And Michael's got this set up for TV programs, and I think what we ought to do is get them hooked up on the Torah for the Nations YouTube channel on there. And Terry's got his Amunah Trek blog, which is great. If you haven't read it, he just put up a new one. Was it yesterday?
Fantastic.
Yeah. He's so good at getting, of making, I can't say it the way Terry says it. It's just, here it is. Of course, my wife is better at saying some things than me too, because she comes from the other side and she's now a Jew.
Her last video was amazing.
Did you like that? I saw what she put on there.
She said what needs to have been said for a long time.
I agree.
It was really good. One of the topics I would like, that's been on my mind a lot for about 2 weeks now, I would like to see us delve into is Tikkun Olam for the Noahide. And here's what sparked this in my mind. The more I delve into the 7 laws, the more my eyes are opened up to really what I'm seeing messed up in the world. And here lately, I've been a part of, in a way, or in situations where how does a Noahide help repair the world in far as getting, it's not really the right words, helping people see that they need to be conscious of what they're doing, changing their way. I mean, I'm just going to give you an example. This is one of the examples that happened to me a couple weeks ago. I was in the lunchroom or the break room at my job, and most of the time I'm in there by myself. They've got a TV sitting there on all the time. People flip and watch different shows, and I most of the time I don't. I generally bring a book I'm reading. But that day I really wasn't in the mood for reading, so I was sitting there, and there was an old episode of MASH. I grew up in the generation where it was on TV. So I haven't seen it in years. I like MASH. It's a pretty funny comedy, you know. So I'm sitting there eating my sandwich, watching MASH, and the person walks in. Well, I don't like that. Picks it up and changes it. Didn't ask me if I was watching it. And I'm like, wait a minute here. Where's the care for another person? You did what you wanted to do without the care. What if the other person? I didn't care. It really, I'm just like, I'm there to eat lunch and leave. But I just got to thinking about how really selfish this world is without a concern for another person. And how does a Noahide help people get that in them? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. I'm very familiar with that exact question. The simple answer is, to fix the world, you fix yourself, and that influences the world around you. That's the simple answer. When you, as people get to know you as a Noahide, which makes you a new person, so to speak, is going to change a lot of the way you think and do things. The people that are around you are going to notice it, and they're going to want to change too, because they see you're calmer, you know everything, you don't get uptight about stuff, all that kind of stuff. There is no magic secret to Tikkun Olam.
Oh, I agree, Thomas.
Which one is that, Thomas?
Universal Garden of the Moon.
Oh yeah, okay.
You know, I'm.
Yeah, okay. No, he doesn't want to talk right now. Yeah, see, we're not. Look, I'm Chabad. That's great, but I'm not here pressing Chabad stuff. Shalom. Rabbi Arush has some beautiful, beautiful books in English that help people understand things. It's Rabbi Yitzhak Ginsburg has put Kabbalah into a universal nations understanding for nations. Anybody that wants to learn anything about the mechanics of God and the Torah and all that, there is no limitation on what you can learn. The only limitation is you yourself, and we all have that in life. If I want to be a brain surgeon, I can study all I want, but if I can't put it all together, I can't be a brain surgeon. I can only study up to the level that I can study to, and I have to realize, okay, that's all I'm going to be able to take in. Anybody who wants to study anything may study anything. But what you're not allowed to do, and this is the biggest thing to learn, is to give your opinion about it. We have opinions of people far much smarter than we are about the different codes and the books and the Shulchan Aruch and all that. Our opinions don't make any difference in that discussion. Those discussions have been held between people that are much smarter than we are. Just a little bit of, I'm going to take a second to do this. I have to go for prostate surgery. Now, I have three choices. There we go. Put a stent in so that the urinary tract stays open. Do what they call scratching that opens up for those of you who don't know, the urinary tract goes through the prostate. As you get older, it gets bigger. And it squeezes on it. So I say you go in and you, like a drill, and open it up, or you go in and take it out altogether. Now, there are three different ways to fix this. And I can give my opinion on all three, but really the only way I should do it is the right way. And I've talked to a lot of people that are experts in this, not my next door neighbor and not the kid's doctor. But he told me this is what you do to fix what you get, the problem you got. And I'm going to do it. It's that simple. when someone that knows a lot more than me puts it all together, my opinion in this whole cycle of decisions doesn't mean beans, because I don't understand all the stuff that's being considered. And I can Google what I want and read about it all I want, still not going to work. Everybody has a level of what they can understand. You may not. Do you know that when we speak in the classes here, when we're learning, and we say, put a quote, lay a quote on the table, say, you know what? Da-da-da-da. If you can't say who said it and where it came from, they don't even want to hear it. They don't want my opinion. If I can bring them something they haven't heard before, that from Rambam or from Yosef Karo or from Hari or any of these things, and say, have you ever looked at this, what Hari says here, or what Yosef Karo says here? Then they'll look at it, but I can't just say to them, let's see, XYZ, where's it from? Well, I said it. You got to have some, that's what causes, that's why the Christians, and I'm not putting them down, but they have 47,000 denominations in Christianity because everybody's got an opinion. They laugh at us, 2 Jews and 3 opinions.
Right. I kind of like the way Rabbi Baruch Cantor or Gartner wrote his book, Living Aligned, talks about being a pipeline.
Right.
He talks about being a pipeline versus being a vessel. And he's talking about a vessel can only hold but so much, but pipeline can move more information and being part of a pipeline. And like you said, as a pipeline, you're not the originator of what's moving through it.
That's what we're looking to do at Torah for the Nations. God created the Torah before anything was created. It's the blueprint for humanity for existence. Everything we always wanted to know about is there. I can't see it. Thank goodness Ari was here. He saw it down deeper in it than other people could see. But the point is, I can read what Ari wrote, or I can read what the Baal Shem Tov wrote, or I can read what the Alter Rebbe wrote. It's like I'm taking a walk in their minds. And I could never come up with that kind of stuff, no matter how much I read. I look at what I'm reading and say, I could have read this 1,000 times. I never would have seen that in these words. And you get the advantage of drinking what they are showing us. And it's an amazing thing. And Talmud and Gemara and those things blow my mind. I mean, what do I got to listen to all this stuff for? But anyway, it's all there and it's all truth. We need to be the people that are the pipeline for truth. I mean, the real God's truth from Mount Sinai. You know, if you look up Jeremiah 16:9, I think it is. Let me pull this down. My wife finally wrote it up for me on the wall. Yeah, 16:19. It says the nations are going to come to Jerusalem, are going to come to us, the Jews, to guys like me and David, and say, gave us nothing but lies. We come to you for the truth. All the nations of the world are going to do that. And it's a prophecy. It's a good one. In Zechariah 8:23, it talks about the grabbing the tzitzit of the Jew and come walk with us. That's what we want. We want to put everybody on the same page, put everybody being part of the same pipeline. And in the meantime, it's going to fix the world and it's going to fix people around us. And hopefully it'll fix things like the hunger and the war and the greed. You know, I could go into all kinds of stuff like we're in the Messianic era now. We can see it. We can smell it. He's going to end up coming. There's 2 ways he can come from what I've read, from what I understand. He can come and say, oh, wow, you've got the place all fixed up for God. You're supposed to make it so he can come live with you guys. All right, let's call him here. And he can come with, wait a minute, we got to really clean this place up first. Because the purpose of all creation, God says it right in the beginning, is so I can come be with you. Not take us to him. Not take us up to heaven. He's up there waiting for us to get the apartment ready for him to move into so he can be with us. That's our job. He wants to be with us. Our Creator wants to be so we can feel his presence. You know what? Let me throw something out. A 6-year-old kid in Jerusalem 2,500 years ago was more knowledgeable and could feel God's presence. Because he lived in the city where God was connected to the earth. Where his presence, his essence was connected to the earth. The same place where the Akedah, the binding of Isaac took place, and Jacob's dreams and everything else. It's the same spot, and that's it up there. That's God's connection to earth, just like his connection to us is through here, through our head, not through our heart. The head of the world is up there in Jerusalem. All of us have a part in putting this all together and making it work. And if you know anybody, if you just know anybody that's working in this direction, let me talk to them for 10 minutes. Let's see if we can get them working together with us as a united front. And I'm inviting everybody to get involved in it. I look at the faces in front of me right now, and I know, I'm thinking of the people who aren't here. We have a pretty strong, intelligent group of guys here, and women. And we can do something. We can become that one unit that gets God's people thinking about Tikkun Olam, which is fix yourself first. Don't be looking at other people and judging them. Fix yourself first, and then it's like a virus. It'll spread like a virus all over the world.
I hope so.
Amen, amen. Okay, did I talk enough? Did I talk too much? We're way over time. Wow. Anybody have any last comments they want to make? David, you have anything you want to?
Yeah, I do have one thought, and this is something that Mike and I were talking about just recently as we were discussing this whole situation after you contacted me. And, I said, Mike, if we had a strong Noahide presence in the world, when the Yom Kippur War took place in 73, the nations would have came and said, we'll get your back. You keep doing what you're supposed to do. Yom Kippur, fasting, and so on and so forth. I mean, that's what we would have had. So I'm saying this a little bit in a selfish manner, where this is what I hope for. This is part of my vision, where we'll have a strong nation, nations out there that are defending, that will be supportive of Israel and the Jews. When I say Jews, I mean Israel. And all its tribes, we would have that backup. We would have that protection, and we in turn would be raising them up, in God's presence, and because we're supposed to be a priestly nation, a nation that ministers and helps purify the faith for all of mankind. There's a structure here, I see.
Yes, absolutely, you're right. And I want to tell you something. If only the world knew how important Jerusalem was to their well-being, there would be not one wall around Jerusalem. There'd be wall after wall after wall from every nation. Enough fences so nobody could get through. You're
right.
Absolutely right in what you're saying. Look back at David's reign. Who were the mighty men of David? They weren't of Israel. They were the mighty warriors that came to David to protect Israel.
Yeah, there was Hittites too. Yeah.
Yeah. So if they just knew, if people just knew, so what are we doing? We're showing them how to get involved with it, how to Back to the future is all I can say. You know, back to the way it's supposed to be. And it's written on most of the, I don't know how they call them, the podiums or the dais where they open the Torah portion. It says, bring us back to the days that it used to be. Days of Edom, the first way it used to be, get us back there. Back to the future. That's the future, going back there. That's probably where you get the title for the movie, Back to the Future, from watching the Torah. Anyway.
Well,
Gary, go ahead.
I'm going from memory. I've got it in my I put it in my memes folder. It's not a meme, but it's somebody posted a quote. I think it's and I'm probably going to have this wrong. It's a quote from Midrash Rabbah that I find interesting. It says, basically, I'm paraphrasing it, when Israel is doing what it's supposed to do, Hashem would search throughout the world for a righteous person and bring them and attach them to Israel. And I think that's what's happening when you have the people, the true Noahides that are really seeking to serve Hashem through the 7 laws. Hashem is bringing them back and attaching them to Israel like He's attached us together.
Right.
You know, and He's attaching. We may not live in the land, but He's attaching us to Israel. Those that are actually doing, you know, what they're supposed to be doing. What God's given them to do.
Let me say to you this one thing, and then we got to go. But attaching you to Israel. Now, this is Israel, the nation. Today we have Jerusalem, and we have Israel, the country, and we have the whole world. And when you come up to Israel, everybody talks about coming up to Israel. When you get in Israel, you talk about going up to Jerusalem, no matter where you live. It's a higher spiritual level. When the time of the Messiah comes, the place we call Israel today, the country of Israel, becomes Jerusalem, and the whole rest of the world becomes Israel, and everybody becomes Israelites. They all become members and citizens of the country of Israel because they've given themselves to the one true God, the God of Israel. And there's no exceptions here. You want to be there? Be there. It's your choice. Just accept the God of Israel, accept what He says. And like it took me years and years and years to do this, I had to get out of my own way.
Yeah.
I had to get out of my own way. Oh man, when I was younger, Yom Kippur, I'm going to communicate the way I want to communicate. I'd go out in the field and take my guitar and I'd sing praises to God, and I wouldn't even bother about going to shul. You think you're smart at times in your life, then you get to the point where you know you don't know nothing. Look, I thank all you guys for being here. We're going to be here next week, same time. During the week, if you want to communicate with me or with each other, please do so. Do some thinking. See if you want to make some kind of, I'm talking about mental and time commitment to getting this thing moving, making this little tiny snowball we got right now become a huge snowball that goes around the world. I'm here to tell you the world's ready for it. There's a tsunami of people out there waiting to get involved with this. They just don't know where to go.
Are y'all familiar with Rod Bryant, who runs the Noahide Center in Texas?
Houston, yeah, that's out of Houston.
I've been talking with him back and forth. He mentioned something in a thread, and so I messaged him. We've talked several times throughout the past. When we first decided not to do conversion, well, we thought about moving out there because it's a pretty nice sized Noahide community in north of Houston area. He is currently working with a rabbi in Atlanta, an Orthodox rabbi in Atlanta, and I think there's a few other rabbis, and they are in the process of discussing at least like in America, start forming an American Noahide association where rabbis and Noahides can link up with each other. And I told him, I said, that would be great if that happened in all the nations, that there was like a Germany Noahide association, and then it just, but they linked with each other and spiderwebbed around the world. And so I know he's in the process of working with some rabbis. He's got some rabbis on board with him, this idea of just the Noahide association, just it's a linking, communicating association. So it's pretty interesting.
It's a very good idea, and right now the Noahides have to build themselves a community, and that's good. But the most important connection they can possibly have is to Israel.
Oh yeah.
And through Israel to one another. And what happens is when somebody has an association, they usually put some rules down about who can belong and who can't, and you got to think this way, you got to think that way. That's okay. But it makes, again, to me, it's like denominating a little bit. So you got one of them. Now, there's the Dutch Noahide community that's very much into, I met Anna Marie, I think her name is.
Yeah, she was here last week.
Huh? Yeah, she came in the meeting last week because she wasn't in another meeting last week. But we communicate all the time, and the people there, I post in their website all the time. Some of the Noahide people don't even want me to post in their places, and I stay away from others only because I don't want to cause friction. Because everybody's got their little dee-dee-dee-dee, and there is no little dee-dee-dee-dee. You want to check it out, look at us Jews and how we've done that with the dee-dee-dee-dee. One day we'll all be back just like Moses and them guys, and all the different ways we've broken off and we've decided not to do this and I don't have to do that. That's all going to go away too, because the world needs us, the Jews, to be a solid group because we are the priests of the nation. So
yeah, we've got to figure out, what's been on my mind when I look at all these, because there's several different groups looking at wanting to do different things. And in their inception, they've got some good points. But one of the things that I've been just pondering is how do we connect with one another without denominating? It just seems like every time there's a way of them, people wanting to say, hey, we've got to connect, and then they denominate.
okay, let's do this. Let's end the program.
Okay.
And say good night to everybody, or good day, or everybody who's with us. Stick around, guys. But we're going to stop the recording now, and we'll have it up in the next 24 hours. Anybody wants to watch it, and then next week, of course, join us. I guess it's 11 a.m. Sunday Eastern Time in the USA, which is 6 p.m. or 1800 in Israel. If you're watching from Europe or something, you know what the 1800 means, and it's Israel time. So thanks for being with us.